J-Lo turned heads with this spicy moment, kissing 3 of her dancers.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. The American Music Awards were supposed to make their triumphant return after a 3-year hiatus, but what actually happened on Memorial Day 2025 was nothing short of a complete disaster. We're talking about music's biggest names straight up abandoning what was once considered one of the most important nights in entertainment. Taylor Swift didn't just skip the show, she obliterated millions of fans' hopes in the process. But that's only the beginning of this mess. For weeks leading up to the ceremony, Swifties had convinced themselves that their queen was about to drop the biggest announcement of the year. The evidence seemed rock solid. Swift's official website had mysteriously rearranged its menu to spell out AMAs using the first letters of each section: apparel, music, accessories, and sale. Even more suspicious, there were exactly 12 items on sale at 26% off. And May 26th was the date of the awards. Fans connected the dots immediately. 12 would be her next album number, and the discount percentage matched the ceremony date. Taylor Nation, her official social media team, had been dropping cryptic messages with hidden capital letters that spelled out AMAs when put together. The final nail in the speculation coffin came when an episode of The Handmaid's Tale featured a never-before-heard snippet of "Look What You Made Me Do," Taylor's version, sending fans into absolute chaos about a potential reputation announcement. But Taylor Swift never showed up. She didn't walk the red carpet, she didn't present an award, and she certainly didn't announce anything. Instead, millions of devoted fans watched their hopes crumble in real time as the camera panned to empty seats where she should have been sitting. For the first time since 2007, Swift was completely shut out of the AMAs, despite 6 nominations. This is the same woman who holds the record for most AMA wins in history with 40 trophies, and she couldn't even be bothered to show up to collect what should have been easy victories. The snub felt personal, and it sent a clear message that even music's biggest superstar had written off the entire event. If you're still watching, you're deep in the real story. And trust me, it only gets crazier. Hit the subscribe, like, comment, and share buttons if you want more untold stories like this one. It helps a lot more than you think. Swift wasn't alone in her absence. The night was defined more by who didn't show up than who did. Sabrina Carpenter, fresh off her massive year with hits like Espresso, was a no-show despite 6 nominations. Olivia Rodrigo, Gracie Abrams, and Chappell Roan, basically the entire young female pop establishment, all found better things to do on Memorial Day. These are artists who should have been fighting for face time and using the platform to promote their latest projects. Instead, they collectively decided the AMAs weren't worth their time, leaving behind a show that felt like a discount version of what award ceremonies used to represent. The biggest shock of the night came when Billie Eilish swept every single category she was nominated for, going 7 for 7 in a domination that nobody saw coming. She beat Taylor Swift for Artist of the Year, a category Swift had won a record 7 times between 2009 and 2022. But here's what made it even more stunning. Eilish only had 2 total nominations compared to the 7 each that Chappell Roan and Shaboozey received. Her victory proved that sometimes showing up is literally half the battle. Meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar, who went into the night with 10 nominations and was considered the front runner in multiple categories, walked away with just 1 win for favorite hip-hop song. The same artist who had dominated cultural conversations all year couldn't convert his nominations into victories, highlighting just how disconnected the voting had become from actual impact and influence. The most cringeworthy moment of the entire broadcast came courtesy of host Jennifer Lopez, whose opening performance became an instant meme for all the wrong reasons. J-Lo kicked off the show with what was supposed to be a high-energy dance medley featuring the year's biggest hits, but instead delivered a performance that had viewers scrambling for their remotes. During her routine to Benson Boone's Beautiful Things, she made out with both male and female backup dancers on live television, creating a moment that felt more like a desperate grab for attention than a celebration of music. The performance was plagued with technical difficulties, including missed lifts and awkward recoveries that went viral within minutes. Social media exploded with reactions reactions ranging from secondhand embarrassment to genuine concern about what they had just witnessed. J-Lo's opening set the tone for an evening that felt completely out of touch with its audience and purpose. This was her first time hosting since 2015, and the decade gap showed in every uncomfortable moment. The choreography felt dated, the song choices seemed random, and the entire production had the energy of a Vegas lounge show rather than a major music award ceremony. Viewers couldn't help but compare it to award shows of the past, when hosts understood their role was to elevate the artist being honored, not overshadow them with desperate attempts at relevance. The decision to schedule the AMAs on Memorial Day turned out to be a catastrophic miscalculation that highlighted everything wrong with the show's comeback attempt. Memorial Day is a time when Americans honor fallen service members and typically spend time with family, not glued to their televisions watching celebrities collect trophies. The timing sent a message that the producers were either completely out of touch with their audience or so desperate for a broadcast slot that they'd take anything CBS offered them. Moving the ceremony from its traditional Los Angeles location to Las Vegas only added to the disconnect, making the entire event feel like a weekend casino show rather than a prestigious music industry gathering. The venue change to the Fontainebleau Las Vegas created an atmosphere that felt more like a corporate retreat than the music industry's biggest night. The intimate setting, while potentially charming for some events, made the sparse attendance even more obvious. Empty seats were impossible to hide, and the reduced capacity meant that even moderate no-shows created a visibly underwhelming environment. The Las Vegas backdrop also reinforced the perception that this wasn't the real AMAs, but rather some kind of tribute act playing in a smaller venue. The list of missing superstars read like a who's who of modern music royalty, creating a night that felt more like a gathering of industry leftovers than a celebration of the year's best. Machine Gun Kelly provided perhaps the most insulting moment of the entire evening when he walked the red carpet, posed for photos, and then immediately left the venue before the ceremony even began. His decision to treat the AMAs like a photo opportunity rather than an actual award show perfectly captured how little respect major artist had for the event. When performers can't even be bothered to stay for the actual show, it raises serious questions about the relevance and future of the entire format. The absence of major names created a domino effect that made every aspect of the show feel smaller and less significant. Presenters had to work harder to generate excitement for awards that felt diminished by the lack of competitive nominees actually in attendance. Performances felt like opening acts rather than main events, and even the winners seemed surprised by their victories in categories that should have been highly competitive. The whole evening had the energy of a participation trophy ceremony rather than a celebration of actual achievement and talent. This disaster wasn't just about one bad night, it represented a fundamental shift in how artists view award shows in the streaming era. Traditional ceremonies were built on the premise that artists needed the exposure and validation that came with televised recognition. But in an age where musicians can reach millions of fans directly through social media and streaming platforms, the value proposition of award shows has completely changed. Why spend time at a ceremony that might not even boost your streaming numbers when you could be creating content that directly engages your fan base? The fan-voted nature of the AMAs, once its biggest selling point, now feels like a liability in an era of manufactured engagement and bot manipulation. Artists and their teams know that social media metrics can be gamed, streaming numbers can be inflated, and voting systems can be manipulated by dedicated fan armies. This has created a situation where the awards feel less like genuine recognition of artistic merit and more like a popularity contest that doesn't necessarily reflect actual impact or quality. When the voting process itself feels disconnected from reality, it's no wonder that major artists are choosing to opt out entirely. Behind the scenes, the technical failures and production issues that plagued the broadcast reveal just how rushed and underfunded the comeback attempt really was. Beyond J-Lo's opening performance mishaps, the show was filled with awkward transitions, audio problems, and moments that felt more like a dress rehearsal than a live broadcast. Sierra suffered a wardrobe malfunction on the red carpet that required immediate intervention from her team. Even basic elements like lighting and camera work felt amateurish compared to other major award shows, creating an overall impression that this was a budget production trying to masquerade as a premium event. The performances that were supposed to be be highlights ended up feeling more like nostalgia acts than celebrations of current music. Gwen Stefani's medley celebrating the 20th anniversary of her solo debut felt appropriate for the Las Vegas setting, but completely out of place at what was supposed to be a forward-looking music award ceremony. Rod Stewart receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award was a sweet moment, but it reinforced the perception that the AMAs had become more about past glory than current relevance. Even Janet Jackson's Icon Award acceptance, while well-deserved, couldn't shake the feeling that the show was more interested in celebrating yesterday's stars than today's innovators. The aftermath of the 2025 AMAs has created serious questions about whether traditional award shows can survive in their current format. When music's biggest stars collectively decide that an award ceremony isn't worth their time, it forces a fundamental reconsideration of what these events actually accomplish. The Memorial Day broadcast felt like watching the final gasps of a dying format, one that had lost touch with both its audience and the artists it was supposed to celebrate. The industry's most powerful players had spoken with their absence, and their message was crystal clear. The AMAs, at least in their current form, are no longer relevant to the modern music landscape. The 2025 American Music Awards will be remembered not for the winners or performances, but for the collective shrug it received from the music industry's elite. In trying to make a triumphant return, the show instead demonstrated just how far it had fallen from relevance. The empty seats, technical disasters, and cringe-worthy moments created a perfect storm that highlighted everything wrong with award shows in the streaming age. When Taylor Swift and her peers decide your ceremony isn't worth their time, you're not just having a bad night, you're facing an existential crisis that might not have a solution.